is Helen Miller and I'm the community lead for Plastic Free Denholme. Plastic Free Denholme started about 18 months ago, and what really initiated it to start with was I have a daughter she was 9 at that stage, and she was in Brownies and she was doing a badge in Brownies called Zero Waste. And as part of that, we did a bit of a plastic audit. So we kept all our plastic waste that had come along with our groceries and other things that we were using for, I think it was 3 days. And after 3 days, we'd got this enormous mountain on the kitchen table of plastic rubbish, and we were quite horrified by the amount that was actually there. And we started to think, what could we do about it? And a few weeks later, I attended a meeting with the Plastic Free Bingley group, because I'd begun to become interested in reducing plastic waste. And then the thought occurred to me, why couldn't we do that in other communities? Chatted to some of those people, and then we started work here. This is obviously a much smaller community here in Denholme than in a town like Bingley. So having connections with people at the local church and in the Mechanics Institute and various other community groups, it was quite easy to sort of get people engaged. So that's how it started. In terms of what we do, the same as all the plastic-free communities around the country, we have a series of targets that we work towards. So one is to do with engaging ordinary people, individuals, and asking them to do things that they might not have thought of, simple things. The other targets are to do with engaging local groups and organisations such as churches, Scouts and Guides, uniformed organisations, also community groups, so let's say maybe a cricket team or a choir, a local singing group or a band or something like that, community organisations, and schools comes under that category also. One of the other groups that we work with is businesses, local businesses, predominantly small businesses, cafes, pubs, anybody really who wants to think about reducing their plastic waste. And we support them to do that, and they can receive an award from us and Surfers Against Sewage, which is the overarching charity that we work with. And we also have to engage the local government, and that has involved here in Denholme working with the town council, which is like a parish council, and also working with our local councillors as well, so from Bradford Council. So we've worked with Councillor Paul Sullivan, who's one of our local district councillors, representing the area of Bingley Rural, and he's been, involved and really supportive of what we've been doing too. I think they have. I think we started up at quite an opportune time. It was a time when there have been various things in the media about the horrors of animals being killed and harmed by plastic in the ocean in particular, but also things in the media about the amount of plastic that's leached into the environment and that actually as humans we're consuming. Things about microplastics, and there's been quite a lot of that in the media, and that just hit at the same time as we started. So that was a real catalyst for us, I think. I think the biggest challenge we've had in tackling people's views is that, first of all, everybody thinks this is about recycling. And one of the big things that I've tried to say to people, and I do say to people, is we want you to recycle less because we want you to reduce the amount of waste you're producing in the first place, and that's really key. Recycling is really a last resort in terms of it's better than landfill, but not much. So what we really want to do is try and reduce what we're actually using in the first place. If you think about when you go to the supermarket and you buy your weekly shop, actually you're buying an enormous amount of single-use plastic with that shop. And the problem with that is, what do we do with it? Recycling can only be done to a certain degree. It's not ideal. If you recycle a piece of plastic once, you may only be able to recycle it once, or maybe twice, and eventually it degrades and it's not able to be used again. It's not like tin cans and glass that can be endlessly recycled. So it is problematic. The other thing with recycling is, I think, if you stick it in the bin, the recycling bin, it goes away, so it becomes not your problem. And so I think the exercise that we did with my daughter, collecting all that rubbish, was a massive eye-opener. And I think if everybody did that just for 2 or 3 days, I think they'd be really surprised by the amount they are actually using. So probably the easiest thing is take your own bags to the supermarket. It doesn't matter what they're made of. If they're made of plastic, great, you're reusing it. You're not throwing it away, so it's not being used once. The idea of what we do is that we're not against plastic altogether, but we're against people using it just once and then throwing it away. The average carrier bag, I think they did some research, it's only used for a few seconds before it's thrown away. So carrier bags is the first thing, I would say. Reusable water bottle. Every time you buy a bottle of water in the shop, you're buying a plastic bottle which you might be recycling, but essentially you're getting rid of it, you're using it once. If you get yourself a reusable bottle, you can use that an infinite amount of times, and that could save hundreds, literally hundreds, just of water bottles just from one person. Same goes for coffee cups. Reusable coffee cups is another really, really easy one. Refusing a plastic straw, dead simple. Often people would say to me, but what about paper straws? And I go, what about your lips? You know, most of us, unless we've got a genuine medical reason why we can't actually drink just straight from the cup, most of us can manage to do that. And I think that's, I mean, I don't know if people have seen some of the footage of turtles having straws pulled out of their noses. It's horrific to see those images. And simply by refusing a straw, we've got the power to stop that from keep happening again and again and again. Other things that I've done, which are probably more, maybe not quite so entry level, when you get to advanced plastic free, is thinking about using refills. And there are lots of ways you can do this. There are some subscriptions to online cleaning products, for example, or there are some that will come in tablet form that you can mix with water, or using a refill service shop if there's one near where you live. I think there's a couple in Saltaire now within the Bradford district. I tend to go to one at Hebden Bridge because that's handier for me, but those places are out there. So that, and using a bar of soap instead of pump soap is another one that's really easy to do. So there's loads. I mean, when you start thinking about it, you know, it gets a little bit addictive. What can I get rid of next? And I'd say we don't fill our recycling bin anymore. We used to fill it every week, and it's probably about maybe a quarter full. And that's in the space of just over a year. I would advise, a really good piece of advice is don't try to do it all at once. Think about what can I do this week? If I can make one change, or maybe this month, or maybe even just one change this year, it's a start. You don't have to be completely plastic free in your life. What you're thinking about is how you can reduce that amount of plastic. And every piece of plastic makes a difference. Every single one is important. And I think for ordinary people that message is massive, because they think, oh well, I can't do it because I can't do it perfectly. But perfection is not what the answer is. It's about gradually taking that down. So the biggest thing we have is probably the Facebook groups. So each of the plastic-free communities within the district and across the country, I think, has got a Facebook group. So ours is creatively titled Plastic Free Denholme, and the one in Bingley, Plastic Free Bingley. There's one in Keighley as well. There's one in East Morton, Shipley and Riddleston. I think I've got them all in the Bradford district there. Ilkley as well, I think. And engage, get involved. There'll be tips on there. People will post information that they've got. Most of the groups will have an email address as well, and if you engage with them on the Facebook group, you'll have access to that. Attend events. All the groups put events on. We have events here. We also have, we do actually have a refill pop-up shop, which is currently sadly closed down because of COVID, but we are looking to bring that back up again, and that's every fortnight in the Denholme Mechanics Institute just down the road from where we are right now. Engage with that. There are plastic-free fairs that these groups organise. You can go along and they will talk to you, give you information. They're there to help. Nobody wants to criticise or tell you you're a terrible person and you're damaging the environment. If you've got an interest in reducing your plastic waste, get involved. And if you're anything like me, it just took one tiny trigger of my daughter doing that badge, and then you know, we've gone on to do much more. I would say it's very easy to set up. I mean, it starts with you as an individual, and then you gradually get friends and contacts around you who are also interested in that, and you work together to do it. If there isn't a plastic-free group and you don't want to start one, that's okay. It doesn't mean that you can't reduce your plastic waste. You can still do that, and if you go on the Surfers Against Sewage website, there are lots of details about how you can do your sort of own individual action plan, as it were, to tackle your own personal single-use plastic and waste. But yeah, start one. We'd love to see plastic-free communities in every area of the Bradford district, and you know, we work together, we talk to each other, we attend events together, and do stalls together. And it's nice to meet other people. People who are interested in the environment are generally really nice and easy to get on with. They're not hard work, they're usually kind, they usually want to give you their time, and they're interested in helping people. For me, the biggest thing for me, reason why I think it's important, is because I have a Christian faith, and I believe that we have a responsibility to look after the earth and the planet, not just for ourselves but for generations to come, and that's hugely important to me. Even if you're not a Christian, that should be important to you, to want to protect things and offer a future to the next generation. Even if you haven't got children of your own, maybe you do have children, maybe you've got grandchildren, and you want them to have the kind of experiences that you've been able to have. And the issues around climate change, around the amount of waste that is out there, are going to come back and cause an awful lot of problems. And if we don't start now, we put our head in the sand and we don't do anything about it, we are storing up problems from the future. But in terms of what I believe, it's so important to me that as a believer in Jesus, that's what I'm here to do as a steward of what God's given us.